President Donald Trump has pretty much dismantled the last of Barack Obama's foreign policy disasters. The United States is out of the disastrous Iran deal. President Trump yesterday, in a very brief, only about 17 to 21-minute statement, all in, with him signing that document, pulled the United States out of the Iran deal, and while doing so, used about 37 different adjectives to describe just how bad the deal and Iran actually were and are. The president was arguably the most presidential I've ever seen him. He was decisive. He was succinct. He stayed on script. He stayed with the written words, and he made it very, very clear to Iran and the world that the United States is once again leading from the front. We are finished with the Obama policies of appeasement and of being played like we were naive children by the world's bad actors. Now, Iran treated the Obama administration like patsies. Not the word I wanted to use. The word I wanted to use began with a B and ended with itches. But that's how Obama treated Iran treated the Obama administration. They knew that in Obama and Kerry, they had very weak globalists who desired to be loved by European nations. In fact, Barack Obama seemed to be most comfortable when he was appeasing nations that despised the United States. Now, predictably, Obama, John Kerry, Ben Rhodes, Samantha Power, Susan Rice, the whole crew, Hillary Clinton is out there ranting about the pulling out of the Iran deal. These people were the people who allowed ISIS to proliferate. Trump destroyed ISIS in 11 months. These morons in the Obama administration allowed Iran to mock them. Iran thumbed its nose collectively at the world, enriching nuclear material, uranium, plutonium, for weapons production. But what's even worse, in their statements, Obama and Kerry are saying things like Israel is less safe, while Bibi Netanyahu is saying the greatest thing Donald Trump ever did was pull out of the Iran deal. Our embassy is opening in Jerusalem. I spoke to our managing editor about that here on the show yesterday, Tiffany Gabai, and they're naming a park, a little square park, a little gathering place in Jerusalem after Donald Trump. Israel seems to be on Trump's side in this one. Barack, John Kerry, or should I call you John Hines? You only married the guy's wife like a week after he was killed and are living off the Hines family money. Jesus. And John Kerry is just like a guy who has stumbled his way through life, had a uneventful, lackluster career in the Senate, lost embarrassingly to George W. Bush in the 2004 election, and marries rich women and lives off them. Well, he was also, by the way, the worst Secretary of State the United States ever had. The guy looks like he can't put a coherent sentence together, and he's got this pouty look on his face now that, you know, the United States wasn't cut out at the knees. It wasn't brought down to the stature of the third world. The United States is actually, again, like I said, leading from the front. Terrible, terrible people in the Obama administration. I mean, they truly hate this nation. Now, Donald Trump was very, very forceful. And Iran, of course, Khomeini and Rouhani are saying, we're going to enrich more uranium than ever before. We're going to develop those nukes now. We're going to do whatever we want to do. Well, they're kind of proving our point, right? Because England and France and Germany and Australia and China and Russia are all in the deal. But Iran is saying, the deal never meant anything to us. We were going to do it anyway. Now that the U.S. is out, we're going to do it even more. We're going to do it even harder. We're going to do it even bigger. So why would we listen to France, the UK, Germany, Russia, China, if they can't control Iran? Iran's not just telling the U.S. to go screw itself. It's telling all of those nations. But nobody's talking about that. They're making it seem like the U.S. is so big and bad, leaving the deal. Where are all those nations telling Iran, hey, we're still in the deal? So Iran is basically admitting we were always going to cheat on the deal. How dare the U.S. call us out on that? Now we're really going to cheat. We're just going to do it more publicly. And Obama and Kerry, like the little wimps they are running around basically apologizing for the United States. They're apologizing for strength. And, Trump laid out an impeccable case. There's an AP story in front of me. I watched the statement live. I rarely do that in the middle of the day, but I was able to grab it up on my phone and I watched it live. And I was looking forward to it because I started to get information early in the morning that he was going to pull out. We knew he was going to pull out. He didn't have a choice after Netanyahu's briefing to the world, really, about the 105,000 files that Israeli intelligence had grabbed up from Iran on Iran's nuclear ambitions, on their nuclear weapons program. Used to be called Project Ahmad, and now they've hidden it under the guise of science and medical research. And Iran was always enriching uranium and plutonium for weapons-grade materials for weaponization. Like we've spoken about on the show several times, they wanted 5 warheads, each with a 10 kiloton TNT yield. That's equivalent to about 4 to 5 times what the United States dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in World War II. So Trump said, if we do nothing, we know exactly what will happen. In just a short period of time, the world's leading state sponsor of terror will be on the cusp of acquiring the world's most dangerous weapon. Now, I had done a short segment yesterday with Ezra Levant, who runs The Rebel, on this right after President Trump's announcement. And Ezra and I were talking about things like where else would those warheads have been pointed? Well, one of the reasons that coalition partners in the Middle East region, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, were nervous is that these nuclear materials that were enriched for weaponization could have wound up in the hands of Syria. They still can. In the hands of Yemen. Yemen and Saudi Arabia have always had a volatile relationship. And so Sana'a, Yemen, is one of the most dangerous cities in the world. Advise no one travels there. Now, the CIA doesn't even want to send people into Yemen. We don't even send special operators in there unless we need to. It is a nasty, dangerous place. And so you've got Yemen, you've got the instability in Syria with all the factions fighting each other. You've got Iran that wants its Shia crescent through Syria. They really want to eradicate Israel. You've got Hezbollah, which always controlled Lebanon, but is now picking up seats in the Lebanese parliament. That's going to essentially give Hezbollah not just de facto control via proxies, but actual control via Hezbollah's elected representatives. That all spelled disaster for Israel. Now, look, Hezbollah and Hamas are very close to Iran. Iran is close to some very, very bad actors. Interestingly, Al-Qaeda's al-Nusra Front, despised in Syria, had the Free Syrian Army, even factions of ISIS all despised Iran because Iran was going for its own territory in Syria. So it's a very, very complex, volatile time in that region. But Hezbollah and Hamas and Iran are very, very close. And so they would have benefited. They would have benefited from Iran continuing to cheat. Now, the U.S., President Trump didn't take anything off the table. After he used all of those adjectives to describe just how terrible Iran was, he said at the end, Trump, that he was open. If Iran was willing to come back to the table and act logically and responsibly, he was open. But let's talk about a couple of the things Trump did that I thought were diplomatically brilliant and strategically brilliant. He spoke directly to the Iranian people, and that's what has many on the left hysterical. They were going to jump in thinking they were the intelligentsia elite and say, Trump doesn't understand. See, Trump was lumping the Iranians in with the mullahs, the Iranian people. He doesn't understand that the people in Iran are by and large very secular, but the Muslim hardliners clamp down on them by force. But he does understand that. Donald Trump's a guy in his early 70s. He remembers the days of the Shah. I was a little kid, but I remember the Islamic Revolution. I was a little kid, but I do remember gasoline was very cheap before that. We had a great relationship with the Shah. Now, people my age were little kids, but they remember that life was better. They remember life was better. Their parents, the baby boomers, remember life was pretty damn good under the Shah. These people are only in their 70s, in their 60s. The kids are in their late 30s, 40s, and 50s. They don't want any part of the mullahs, of Khomeini, of Rouhani. They would love a free Iran. But Trump speaking directly to them was strategically brilliant. Now, there was another little nuance. If you watched the press conference, I don't know if you caught it, when Trump left the room and the cameras swung, they held for about a second or two, and standing in the doorway were Vice President Mike Pence and National Security Advisor John Bolton. Very important. Trump was saying, we're a unified team. Bolton is my guy. He's here. He was part of this. This is a new day. There's a new sheriff in town with a new bunch of deputies. Bad guys in the world aren't getting away with anything. That was very telling. And lastly, President Trump ended the speech by talking about Secretary of State Mike Pompeo being on a plane in North Korea. This speech was every bit as much a message to North Korea that if you enter a deal with the United States and you cheat, there will be consequences. And of course, Trump said he was immediately placing sanctions back on Iran. They were going to be some of the toughest, most restrictive ever. So that was a loud and clear message to North Korea, while Pompeo was in the air flying there, that if you want to work with us, you want to cut deals with the United States, you better keep to them. Because if you don't, there are going to be draconian prices to pay for crossing us. And I thought it was an outstanding speech. Of course, Barack Obama and John Kerry both issued these moronic statements. I'm going to read those statements to you today on my longer show, Off the Cuff Declassified, right here on The Rebel. This is really important content we discuss every day. I want to bring it to you every day. Help me do that. Subscribe to our premium service at www.therebel.media/shows. Go to the App Store, download the Great Rebel app, and go to firescottisrael.com. Sign our petition to have Broward County Sheriff, that incompetent, horrible guy, removed from office by Florida Governor Rick Scott. As always, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you tomorrow.